In this 10-year anniversary edition of Nintendo Unboxed, we're going to take a look at a part of my collection that I had yet to do a dedicated unboxing video for, which is the Game & Watch. I thought, though, that it would be appropriate in my theme of going back to the beginning of Nintendo's video game history that we address the Game & Watch, as I do have a couple of them here. If you're unfamiliar with the Game & Watch, as the TV game 6 could be considered one of Nintendo's first home consoles, or home console in the respect that it would attach to a TV and you could play the game there, these Game & Watch systems could probably be considered one of Nintendo's first handhelds. And the name itself speaks exactly to what it is. It is a unit on which you can see a clock, that's the watch, and you can also play a game. Hence, Game & Watch. And the history that I understand about it is that in the late 70s, one of Nintendo's R&D guys, Gunpei Yokoi, who is also credited with developing the Game Boy and the Virtual Boy, he was observing a passenger on either a train or a plane. I can't remember which it was exactly, but this person was entertaining him or herself just by playing a small game on a calculator. And I've always wondered what that type of game would look like, because I remember as a teenager in high school in the 90s, we had these TI-82 graphing calculators. And you could program games on them, but even those games in the 90s looked pretty rudimentary. So I can't imagine what type of game Gunpei Yokoi saw somebody playing on a calculator. But needless to say, that LCD technology is what is showcased here in the Game & Watch. And there are so many different versions of Game & Watch consoles. There's different styles and different games. I only have 4 here to show, but I do know that the first one was released in 1980. The first one that I have here was released in 1982. We can see the copyright date there. But this is for one of Nintendo's very first games, Donkey Kong. However, the style of Game & Watch wasn't the first. This is one of those dual screen Game & Watch consoles, and you know where we've seen that before? Of course, the DS and the 3DS. So it might be reasonably assumed that this was one of the inspirations for that style. Although, of course, the bottom screen here was not touch, as the DS screen was. But the first style of Game & Watch was a single screen version that we would see in this 1988 Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch. Then the Legend of Zelda, or just Zelda one that I have here, not even Legend of Zelda. This one goes back to the dual screen system that we'll see. This one was released in 1989. And then finally here in 1990, this is my Punch-Out Game & Watch, which when we take a look at the back of the package, you'll see this one has some detachable wired controllers. So we'll start here with my earliest, well, I should say earliest original Game & Watch. Several years ago, Nintendo, to celebrate the anniversary of the very first Game & Watch, I think it was called Ball, they did a re-release. And I do have that one, but I want to focus on original hardware here. So, 1982, we have Donkey Kong. Very plain packaging here, as we can see, compared to the other ones that are sporting some color graphics. This is almost monochromatic, not quite. There is some detail there on the actual screen. And this one does have color overlays or underlays or whatever they might be called on the screen to provide some color in the background, so it's not just black and white. But on the long panels here, we've got the Game & Watch branding and then the name as well as the part number, DK52. And then on the back we've got an ad for other Game & Watch consoles of this style, the double screen one. And as you can see here, Nintendo had some licensed properties. We got Mickey and Donald from Disney, and then some more generic original titles like Oil Panic. But as you notice here, the control scheme is unique to whatever the game is that you'd be playing. It's not the typical D-pad on the left and action button on the right. Here it looks like you have some sort of rocker or slider maybe. And then here for Oil Panic you just have 2 buttons. So the controls matched the action, whatever you were going to be doing in the game. But as we open this up here, all of these ones that came in boxes, they have a little styrofoam block that protects the Game & Watch. And then nothing else in the box, as you can see. Few bits of paperwork here. How to play Donkey Kong. So operate the plus controller. Hadn't even started calling it the D-pad or cross key or various other names that controller input was called. This is the plus controller, how to move your character. Then a little bit of a warning here. Do not attempt to take it apart. Yeah, I might have been guilty of that back then. I certainly did take apart my Nintendo Entertainment System and controllers to see how those worked. Then a caution here about the batteries and the liquid crystal or LCD display. And then the instruction manual for DK52, Donkey Kong. If we open it up here, we've got diagrams of what's going on screen, as well as the types of buttons or types of actions that are matched to each button. And then that would be here, name of the parts on page 1, batteries, time set. Remember, this is a watch too. That's part of its functionality, so there's information about that. How to play your Donkey Kong game, operation of control buttons, cautions, and specifications. So inserting the batteries, time set, how to set your clock. Here they've got what every cell would look like illuminated, or illuminated is the wrong term. It wouldn't be an illumination because there's no light going on here, but those cells are blackened. That's how they're turned on. So the flashing kind of creates the animation effect. Gives the illusion that your character is moving along the screen as each of those cells lights up to kind of plot his path there. That's how these Game & Watch systems work. You could also set an alarm, which is a nice feature to have with a watch. Lots of watches at that time, wristwatches, did have alarms on them. How to play. Donkey Kong captured a beautiful girl and carries her into a building under construction. The brave carpenter Mario comes to rescue her, following them over the girders. Donkey Kong throws barrels at Mario to stop him. Knock the girder out from under Donkey Kong to save the girl. So we've got an unnamed girl here, but Mario is named. He's not Jumpman at this point. So what's going on the screen here? How to control with the plus control that we saw there. The beginning of the game. Operation of control buttons. So then cautions. And then a little bit more here about damaging the part in the circle, which is kind of that ribbon cable that would connect the two screens there. So you do not want to crimp it. And we'll take a look at that. Well, here are the specifications that they're giving about the battery, life of the battery, type of battery that you need. So speaking of batteries, I think on the left-hand side here, this is where the batteries would have been. But those batteries, of course, are long gone. But we still do have this dual-screen Game & Watch. Donkey Kong. Kind of a metallic aesthetic here that was very common to electronics of the 70s and early 80s. Multi-screen. They later changed that to dual-screen. Got a serial number here, and then information about the model number and then the battery as well as the copyright year. Small compartment for the two batteries that were included originally. But as we open it up here, we see the two screens, and you can see how they've got those transparent colored layers to give some permanent background there. Those graphics aren't produced by programming. They're actually like physical acetate layers in there that have color graphics on them. But this is the ribbon cable that connects the two screens, what that part in the manual was instructing us to be careful with. But then we have our plus controller here, very small version, even smaller than the GameCube version of the D-pad. Then your action button that is for jumping, selecting game A and B, and then these buttons are also used for setting the time. These are some buttons here too. Typically you would push them with a ballpoint pen. I remember doing that when I was a kid. I had some toys that had these types of buttons. They're recessed like that so you don't hit them by mistake. So that's an interesting way to do that. You need a fine-tipped instrument to get in there and push those buttons. But that is a dual screen version of Game & Watch in the form of Donkey Kong. Let's take a look at one of the earlier versions of the Game & Watch. Different style here, even though this one came out later. There were lots of games in this style before Super Mario Brothers. But as we take a look at the box here, lots of color. Got the branding and the model number on the side panels. And on the back panel, just an image of the Game & Watch unit itself. So as you can see, just one single screen. Don't have a plus controller yet, which is interesting. They're using individual buttons to perform those movement actions. So as we open this one up, got a similar setup, the styrofoam block with the compartment for the batteries. A warning about the batteries, that's the only one that I have in this one here. But the instructions for Super Mario Brothers, how to set the clock and do all those things, what the buttons are. Got our contents on the left, and object of the game. One day the kingdom of the peaceful mushroom people was invaded by Koopas, a tribe of turtles, and Princess Toadstool became a prisoner. To free the captured princess, Mario sets out on a quest and encounters many obstacles. Watch out for the Lakitu throwing hammers from the cloud, the spinning flames, and the flying bullet bill. I like that after mentioning some of those things, they have actual graphics. That was something that I didn't realize dated this far back to the Game & Watch here in the 80s. I thought that was a fairly recent thing Nintendo had been doing, including those pictograms or emojis. So how to insert your battery, setting the time, functions of the clock here, like the alarm. Game screen. The screen consists of scroll movement to show the distance traveled and a timer screen to indicate the time consumed. In the scroll screen, Mario will be able to move into the next world if he can successfully pass through a fixed distance. In the timer screen, if Mario can go through the world within a given time, he will be able to move into the next world. In order to free the princess, Mario must pass through the 8 worlds as follows. So it looks like we've got Canyon, Gym, Burning Room, timer screen, Channel, Hop, Beam, another timer screen, Maze, and Burning Road. Interesting names for those 8 worlds. When the 8 worlds first loop are cleared, the next 8 worlds, second loop, await Mario. There are 9 loops. So to get more value, you're going to be repeating a little bit here. So we got the characters there on the left. Letter from Princess. Bring this up to the screen there in case you want to pause it and read. And then an introduction of each world, what the canyon looks like. Gym. Burning Room. And it looks like they create these different worlds just by illuminating the bricks in different patterns to create the barriers. And it's kind of neat here how they're doing a combination of illustrations and it's also an illustration of the game screen, but we've got some illustrations of character graphics. Of course, the character graphics do not look this good on screen. Beam, Maze, World 7A-3 as choice. World 8, Burning Road. Got some of those flame wheels like we would see in Super Mario Brothers. Information on starting the game, and then the control scheme. Points, misses. They're using the term miss for when you die or lose. Bonus round here. And cautions for handling the Game & Watch unit. Again, we have the angles here. The best angle at which to look is as illustrated in the figure. So about 40-degree angle it looks like. And finally, battery and liquid crystal. How to take care of that. Basically, just don't puncture it or press into it. And then the specifications for this particular Game & Watch, which is a single screen. So let's take a look at this one. So based on what we saw in the instruction manual, they create the levels just by illuminating certain bricks here on the screen. Very little color, which you can see, a little bit of pink and blue. We've got the D-pad, which is mostly buttons, and then the action button. Something that's unique to this Game & Watch is they have a stand. We didn't see that on the dual screen, but the stand, of course, is because, you know, this is also a clock. So if you want to stand it up and use it as a clock or the alarm, you could do that. A lot of people, when they did the Mario 35th anniversary, oh yeah, that's another Game & Watch I have, the Mario 35th anniversary one that came out in the year 2020. That one did not have the stand, and a lot of people noticed that. But this one also has the battery compartment. So then heading back on into dual screen territory, we've got Zelda from 1989. Not Legend of Zelda, just Zelda. But again, we can see here lots of color overlays to give some graphics. We've got a D-pad and an action button. And we've got, like I said, a copyright of 1989 on this one. But as we open this up, we've got the styrofoam block. This one actually has stickers that they want you to put over the battery compartment so that it doesn't come open by mistake and a young child might actually accidentally ingest the batteries, which is a huge medical emergency. So interesting that this one has that. I wonder if the other ones did have it at one point originally, but they were since used or lost. But it's the first time I saw that. Warning about not taking your Game & Watch apart and being careful with that ribbon cable in the middle. Caution about batteries and liquid crystal. And then here we have the instruction manual for Zelda, the multi-screen Game & Watch. Game story. The havoc caused by 8 fierce dragons is increasing day by day. These dragons have refused to live in peace with man and are fighting against him to rule the world. Now that your sweetheart Princess Zelda has been kidnapped by the evil dragons, you have resolved to destroy the dragons. So that's our premise for this game. Looks like here you've got a sub-screen and a main screen. What's going on each one of them there is outlined on page 3. Page 4 has what actions are mapped to the D-pad and what's mapped to the attack button. You'll be brandishing your sword by pushing that. Here we've got some characters. We've got Link, Princess Zelda, a goblin, a dragon. Getting kind of generic with the names here. There we go, Stalfos, we know him. And then ghosts. I guess these aren't Guinea like the original Legend of Zelda. Starting the game. How to operate. Items. We've got a tomahawk, a map, water of life, a heart. Talking about the sword beam, how the game is scored, what happens when game is over. And then the continue feature. Interesting. Let's see here. Even if Link dies, you can continue playing the game from the place he dies if you press the continue key. With the key held down, the top score will be displayed at the bottom right corner of the lower screen. We saw something similar with Donkey Kong. When you release the key, you can start the game from the place Link dies. Remember that your score will be cleared and Link will start out again with 3 hearts. After the game is over, the time display will be returned to if the game is left as it is for 4 minutes. From the second round, the game will end with a happy ending when Link has rescued Princess Zelda. To play the second round or subsequent rounds of the game, press the attack button. From the second round starts, enemies move slightly faster and your score is carried over from the previous round. After the happy ending, the time display will be returned to if the game is left as it is for 4 minutes. So again, some interesting English here. It might be a translation issue, or it may be to accommodate the limited space in the manual. But also we're seeing is that typical Nintendo quality there. Even though when you finish, you're not really finished. They give you another version of the game to play. We saw that so much with the Mario and Zelda games starting out. Got some playing tips there. Inserting the battery and setting the time. Setting your alarm. The information about the LCD display, or LCD rather. And then cautions and specifications. So this Zelda dual screen Game & Watch is going to be very similar in aesthetic to the Donkey Kong one. A difference, however, though, is we actually have some graphics here instead of just that metallic plaque that we would see on so many of the dual screen Game & Watch consoles. On the back of this one, we've got the serial number and then the battery compartment. Opening it up here, you can see those color acetate sheets, I guess is what they would be called. Maybe it's just one of them, but I was thinking maybe they would need one per color. But maybe all of the colors are printed on one. And then we've got our D-pad and then our action button. And then that same set of buttons for setting the clock and starting the game, etc. So that brings us to our final Game & Watch for today, which is Punch-Out. This is the most unique one that I have, in that it has those separate controllers. This one was released in 1990, and as you can see, I haven't opened it yet, and as a collector, I'd like to keep this one in the condition that it's in. But we can see through the packaging here the color portions of the background of the ring, and then you can see there that we have the batteries that were included. Clock and alarm, scorekeeper with digital readout, long-lasting batteries included, play against the computer or another player. So there you can see how the controllers detach, and they're kind of stored within the console there. We see a similar clipping type of feature there that we saw on the multi-screen ones. We've got pretty much that same clasp there that keeps it shut, and then the controllers come out and are wired. But it is a two-player game. So here on the back we can see some of the different versions. We've got the single screen, got the multi-screen, and then of course the ones with the controllers there. So Balloon Fight, Climber, which might be akin to Ice Climber, Mario Cement Factory, Blackjack, just some generic card games, Zelda like we saw, Bomb Sweeper, Donkey Kong Jr. They even had the multi-screen ones that opened more like a book. So it opened horizontally instead of vertically. And then some more single and multi-screen ones. The separate controller ones, we punch out like this one. Donkey Kong Hockey, interesting combination there. And then Donkey Kong 3. Some of the features of this one, specially designed screen for easy viewing. Maybe they made some improvements to the LCD technology with this version. Indoor-outdoor playability, so yeah, it's portable. Clock and alarm, scorekeeper with digital readout. Long-lasting batteries included. So some of that information from the front panel was rehashed here on the back panel. But that is Punch-Out on Game & Watch, as well as Super Mario Brothers from 1988, Zelda from 1989, and Donkey Kong from 1982. So I hope you enjoyed this edition of the 10-year anniversary of Nintendo Unboxed. Remember that I'm going to be releasing a redone version of lots of my original unboxing videos. The calendar has been on the screen here so you can see what's coming this year. I hope you look forward to those videos, and will stay tuned for lots of other content that I have coming here from World of Nintendo. Take care.